Greetings, everyone. Hope you're having a good day. This is Spiritual Divine Guidance here with my numerology report on Suzanne Morphew. And I'm going to start by saying if you have any information at all that would be relevant, please make sure to contact the FBI. Trying to get used to this. The FBI at 719-312-7530. Okay, so if this brings up any memories, or if it, just brings something up and you think it might be relevant, then please make sure to give them a contact, okay? So, first of all, Suzanne Morphew was reported missing on Mother's Day weekend, May 9th or 10th of 2020. Now, she was reported missing on the 10th, but evidence seems to suggest that she may have actually, this may have actually happened on the 9th, so we don't know. Her remains were found near Moffett, Colorado, on September 22nd of 2023, so that's a little over a year ago. And so she and her husband Barry moved to Colorado from Alexandria, Indiana, where they met in high school, and she competed for the homecoming queen, and Barry was a baseball player who was drafted by the Toronto Blue Jays until an injury ended his major league career. Barry started a landscaping business, and Suzanne taught middle school after they both attended Purdue University, and then they got married in 1994. They have two daughters, Mallory and Macy. At the time of Suzanne's disappearance, Mallory was in college and Macy was in high school living at home. The reason the Morphews gave for moving to Colorado was because they wanted to be closer to Mallory, who was in college. So they settled in a small community just outside of Salida, Colorado, called Maysville. It's a mountain community, and according to the map, the houses are they have a fair distance between them. It would definitely be considered rural and remote. Their house was off of Puma Path, and there's a long driveway going back to the house, and it's surrounded by trees, and it's a mountainous area. Okay, and the closest houses are, just looking at the map, I'd say that they are at least a half a mile away, and they are separated by trees and, mountainous terrain. Like I said, the reason they moved to Colorado was to be closer to Mallory, but there is also stories out there that they were having marital trouble. So, that's just something to consider. Having only been there for 2 years, they weren't very well known in the area. So Suzanne had, a handful of friends that she communicated with, and Barry was always gone on a landscaping job, According to those close to the couple in Indiana, there were signs of trouble in their marriage, so they thought that the move might also be good for their relationship. But 2 days before she disappeared, Suzanne sent a text message to her sister that Barry had been both physically and emotionally abusive towards Suzanne, and that she was angry. She was angry at him for what he did, and she was angry at herself for allowing it to happen. Her sister also indicated that Barry was very dominant in the relationship and Suzanne was more passive. It was also revealed that Suzanne had a secret relationship with someone named Jeff, and this information came from a spy pen that Suzanne had. Now, this Jeff was later cleared of any wrongdoing. He didn't have anything to do with it, but this relationship had been going on since 2018. So it was right after they moved to Colorado that she contacted him through Facebook, and they were in contact every day from that point forward. She had even taken vacations to different states to meet up with him. So, and they had talked about getting together and moving possibly to Ecuador at some point. Okay. On the day of May 9th, she communicated with Jeff 59 times. And that was until Barry got home. And investigators aren't sure whether maybe he caught her communicating with this guy or what, but a few days earlier, she had sent him a message stating that she was done and she couldn't care less what he was doing or what he had done in the past or had been doing for the past several years. She just wanted it to end civilly. Investigators questioned him about his cell phone pinging all over the outside of his house on the property on that weekend, and his explanation was that he was chasing and shooting at chipmunks. However, no evidence of that was discovered. There were no chipmunk bodies. There was no, what would you use for chipmunks? Pellets, I guess, BBs, stuff like that. There wasn't any evidence of that. The two daughters were away on a camping trip, leaving Barry and Suzanne alone. And from 2:47 p.m. until 10:17 p.m. on the 9th, Barry's phone went into airplane mode. Now, investigators believe this could be when the crime occurred and when Barry was cleaning up the evidence. While looking at his truck computer, there's a 4-hour window that nothing is recorded. And, I wonder, is this enough time for him to have driven her to Moffett, buried her, and then gotten to Broomfield, where his truck starts recording again? While he's in the Denver area, he's making several stops at several dumpster locations, and he disposes of various bags of trash. His reply was that that's just what he does, and he doesn't like to pay for trash removal. So this information was gathered primarily from an article by Peter Van Sant, an award-winning correspondent for 48 Hours, which is a CBS program. So I'd like to thank that article and Mr. Van Sant for this information that I am using. So now I'm going to go over a numerology profile that I did on Suzanne, Barry, and on their relationship, just to see how they tie together and if they coincide with any of the accounts. But before I get started, let me also let you know that the tarot readings I did for this case, along with the link to Peter Van Sant's story, are going to be in the comments or in the description below. I also have created a playlist for Suzanne where the videos are consolidated. And there's also a video in there from a fellow YouTuber, AWOL Without a Cause, that's linked, that's also in that playlist, that has some interesting information in it as well. As he did a search for Suzanne. He conducted a search, and it lets you know in there what he found. So let's get to it, okay? So the first thing I have here is Suzanne's profile. Okay. And it's, sorry, it's blurry. Anyway, if any of you need videos of any of these pages, if you need evidence or copies of it, let me know and I'll take pictures and I'll send them to you. Just send me an email or leave me your email in the comments down below and what you want, and I'll get it sent to you. Okay? So Suzanne was born Suzanne Renee Mormon on April 30th of 1971. She married Barry Morphew on August 5th of 1994. So the first vowel in her name is a U, which would be her natural approach to life, and she would be optimistic, imaginative, enthusiastic, joyous, inspirational, creative. She had the gift of gab, so she was a pretty happy person. Her sun sign was in Taurus. Her first name came out to a 1, which in numerology it's an alpha. So, she's strong and independent and independent thinker and all of that. Her middle name, which is her emotional side, came out to an 11, which is a master number. So that emphasizes more the aspects of that name. So she had a heightened sense of intuition. She had excellent insight. She was a teacher. She could work in support of others, but she still had to be able to lead. Had to lead. Otherwise, she could slip into fears and phobias, also known as codependency. So, and there's some evidence of that, with the text messages that it's been revealed that she sent. And her last name, which is inherited traits, came out to an 8. And so she had a strong last name. The traits of that are power, mastery, money, materialism, success, abundance, boss authority, vision, organization, recognition, and achievement. And coincidentally, her last name of Morphew also came out to an 8. So she carried those traits into the marriage. She had a karmic number of 2, which she was missing 2s in both her maiden last name and her married name. And so she could have been overly emotional, and she had a fear of being abandoned. She could tend to be, critical, nitpicky, and impatient. And she could have been, more blunt than usual, and she could have had a need for stuff. She could have been a little materialistic. But not because it had any meaning, just to have it. Because stuff can equal, not being abandoned. She had stuff. And she could miss the bigger picture by focusing on details. So she could have been a little, too detail oriented. Now these pages, are just my worksheets. And so now we'll go back here. Her birthday number was a 30. So she was charismatic, creative, outgoing. She attracted people from all walks of life, so she was popular. Hence the, running for homecoming queen, you have to be nominated for that. She had a fine sense of art and harmony. And the 0 in the number gives her tremendous power with words and an ability to inspire others, which comes out in her teaching. Her life path number, she had an innate curiosity to study, test, and analyze everything. So she took nothing at face value, and she liked to share her wisdom with others, and she was a born seeker. Her destiny number, which is the emotional side, was a 2. Her mission in life was to create harmony. Her purpose was to find balance, seek cooperation, and be the patient team player, all to develop her sense of relationship. But she had that karmic lesson of 2, and she had to find a balance between her emotions and overcoming her fear of abandonment. And she had to learn patience and diplomacy to fulfill her destiny. So she had to, she had to work on being tactful and having patience. Her soul number was a 1. She was a leader. She may have wanted to control others. Being a teacher, you do that. You have to control kids and all that. So she could have been willful, headstrong, ambitious, and independent. She was a loner. She wasn't really much teams and committees and all of that. She loves romance as long as her partner holds up their end. She doesn't like, to be the only one working on the relationship. And she likes to think something up and then begin the project. So she's, impulsive or spontaneous. Her personality number was a 1, and that's how she presented herself and how others saw her. And she appeared to be dominant and forceful and creative, confident, self-reliant, and courageous. She had a stylish professional image, and she liked to wear bright colors, even wear loud, bold patterns. Okay, so that was her professional persona. People said she was the submissive in the relationship, but in her profession, she was more dominant. Her maturity number, which would have begun at about age 40, was a 9, so she needed to learn to give up physical work for the spiritual world. She needed to become, she was probably becoming more spiritual, more in tune with self and the spiritual world. She needed to learn to love humanity. And since things came fairly easy to her, she might have believed she was supposed to live an easy life, but in reality, those things were meant to help her master this life and move on. So, move from the physical and having all this stuff to the spiritual, which you can still have the stuff. There's not a problem with that. But don't be so attached to it and materialistic. Okay, so now we're moving to the pinnacles and challenges of her life. So from age 0 to 29, the pinnacle in her life was a 7, and her challenge was a 1. So the pinnacle, which is the high point in your life, was and from 0 to 29, so those were the learning years when she was going to college and getting going in her teaching career and all of that. It was a time of study, research, introspection, or soul development. As a first pinnacle, the 7 could make her feel isolated and alone, which gave her a fear of abandonment, and she was very selective of her friends. So she sounds like she was kind of maybe an introvert during those years. And her first challenge was learning to stand up for herself, which also says, introvert. To be self-reliant and individual. As a first challenge, she's learning to recognize that she has a self. The second pinnacle was a 3, And that goes from about age 29 to about age 38. And it's a time to deal with your emotions and say what's in your heart. Need to learn discipline as things come easily for you, which are meant to encourage and inspire others. And then her second challenge, which is at the same time period, was a 6. And it was about responsibility for others or feeling burdened by family obligations, a domestic challenge. So this was the time when she was, she was a mother and trying to work. And she, possibly had ideals beyond reasonable limits. And, this is a point where she may have been becoming more codependent and giving more of herself for the wrong reasons. The third pinnacle, which was age 38 to 47, was a 1. And she was being groomed for leadership through striving to attain independence, self-reliance, and individuality. All people who cross her path are teachers who will help you move forward towards independence. So, whether she recognized this or not, I don't know. The challenge during this period was impatience, restlessness, and a desire for freedom in some way. So she was feeling, bogged down by the kids and all of that. And, that's understandable. I mean, that's normal. She may have been wanting to go back to teaching. Because this was 47. So this was this was the period right before they moved here to Colorado. So, and we'll get into the relationship later after I go through Barry's. There may even be a tendency to quit something before it's completed. She might choose love affairs that don't last, or to overindulge in food, drugs, drinking, gambling, or sex. This is the challenge number of the one night stand. So she may have been, while Barry was out. So the fourth pinnacle, which was age 47 to the end of life, was a 4. And it's an especially important learning period if she has prominent 5s and 1s. And she had 5 9s in her name and 3 1s. Because she's learning to ground her energy, build something of lasting value, and stick with it. Money, timeliness, and things that limit her are her teachers under this pinnacle. So she had to learn these things. And her challenge was a 5, and the challenge continues from the third challenge and will continue through the end of her life cycle. She's wanting to free herself from previous burdens and begin something new on her own or with a new partner. So that's interesting that she had this new relationship going on, and during this time, this challenge, she was wanting to begin something new and free herself of previous burdens. So her first major cycle, which is the formative years, so age 0 to about age 33, was a 4. And it's a time of putting things in order, working hard for her future, but not seeing the fruits of her labor yet. So she was working hard, but she hadn't started making that much money. She had, gotten out of college, and she was building her career, but she hadn't seen the fruits of her labor yet, and she was trying to build a strong foundation. The second major cycle goes from 33 to about 60 to 61 years of age, and these cycles can overlap each other. And that's the productive cycle, and it was number 3, which was self-expression and joyful living. requires discipline and focus to harness the considerable creative energy pulsing through her life at this time. And yeah, she had her teaching career was going on, and her children, she was having to be creative for them and help them learn and all of that. And the third major cycle, which she never got to, was age 54 to 55 till the end of life. And it was a 9. And it was a time for her to develop compassion and tolerance, a time to learn to let go, forgiveness, and surrender to the mystery of life. But she never got to see that cycle. Her personal year of 2020 was a 4. And it was about putting down roots, hard work, discipline, health, and putting into form the ideas of the 3 personal year. It was a productive year, and she had to persevere, trying to reset the foundation pieces of her life. And she may have been looking at continuing her career, and she was also, in this other relationship. Personal month of May was a 7, and that was a time for introspection, reflection, or current status of her life. She'll want time to herself to think and reevaluate where she's been and where she's going. And she had just recently taken up the mountain biking, so I think maybe she was using that time for some personal time, just to get away to herself. So now we're going to look at Barry. And he was born Barry Lee Morphew. He was born on October 17th of 1967. His last name was an 8. And while it was strong, it also indicated an inflated ego. His priorities are success, competency, doing a good job, and appearances, and seeking recognition in business and finance. His first name, let's see here, the first vowel in his name is an A, which is a natural and innate approach to life. Also describes the spiritual approach to this life. It's individuality, creativity, leadership, and the value of one. Barry was also born on a full moon, which indicates that his sun and moon are in opposition to each other all the time. So emotionally, he was always battling himself, and his opposite is Aries. So Libra, Aries. Sun in Libra, moon in Aries. So he was always he's always in conflict with himself. The Libra side is, gentle and harmony and balance and all of that. And Aries is more self-centered, controlling, doing what's good for them instead of possibly for the relationship. So, there's that constant battle. His middle name governs his emotional life. Let's see here. Did I not write down his middle name? Okay, so his middle name came out to a 4, but it was a karmic number 13, which is work to do. So he was always about work. Okay. I didn't go as deep on him, I guess. Okay, so let's look. Let's see here. I did these on different days as well, so. Okay, so let's get to his life path number of 5. Lots of change, because 5 indicates change. He's a smooth talker. He's good at sales, marketing, and promotions. He's multi-talented, and he's always looking for the next best thing. His destiny number was 5, and it reveals his purpose, what he must live up to, and it was adaptation, change, and progress, embrace freedom, destined for liberation and freedom. So he, he's a free spirit. He always likes change, something different, something new. His soul number was a 3, which is his heart's desire. He's has an enthusiasm for life. He's creative, fun, expressive, but he also may change his mind often. His personality of 2, which is how others see him. It's an 11. Came out to an 11, which is a master number, and then reduced it's 2. And he may have genius intelligence. He's individualistic, idealistic, intense, creates his own reality. He's a landscaper. So he can create his own reality. He's intuitive. He can be overly dependent on his mate for happiness. So, he was not only were the kids depending on Suzanne and her career, here he is depending on her for his happiness. He could be seen by others as high-strung and needing to be in the limelight. His maturity number, which, begins around age 40, governs second half of his life. Now, his maturity number would have begun about 4 years before Suzanne's, because there was a 4 years difference in their ages. So it governs the second half of his life. And the midlife message was always starting something new, tending to be bossy and domineering, always believing that they are right, and independent and self-reliant. So that's what was, starting in his life. His pinnacles and challenges. So his first pinnacle, which was 0 to age 31, was a 9. And that was tolerance, compassion, and love, a time for maturation and growing up early. He was under lots of pressure. He was a star baseball player. So, there was lots of pressure to perform and do well in baseball. And then he got injured. The first challenge was a 7. So it was a serious time of life for him. He had to turn to his inner self through meditation, soul development, and spiritual awakening, which I know they practice those in sports lessons, that he's learning to recognize his inner self, is searching for experiences that will allow him to grow. So the second pinnacle, age 31 to age 40, which would have put Suzanne at about age 36, 27 to 36, the time of blossoming and ripening, a time of building, home, career, and family, requires discipline, recognition of limitations, and a serious attitude. Rewards you achieve here will last throughout your lifetime. So this is where he was, really working on the landscaping career and getting that going and getting a name built for for them. The second challenge was a 6, and so he was learning about responsibility for others or feeling burdened by family obligations, learning not to give for the wrong reasons, also learning not to be too stubborn and set in his own opinions. Strict parenting. The lesson is to transform the negative energy into a loving, nurturing, and caring home environment. The third pinnacle, which was age 40 to 49, the manifestation and reward of his second pinnacle continues into his third pinnacle. So it's the same pinnacle. It's 4. So, yeah, the second pinnacle was a 4, and this third pinnacle is a 4 as well. And then the third challenge changed over to a 1. So, the third pinnacle, the prior pinnacle, was, his time of building, and he's still trying to build, but the challenges are different. The second challenge was a 6 about learning about responsibility, and now he's got a challenge of 1. That's while his third pinnacle remains the same, his challenge shifts from learning to give and love for the right reasons to learning to stand up for himself without being overly arrogant or bullying or self-righteous. In the third position, he needed to learn integrity, vision, courage, drive, and determination while retaining his previous lessons. And remember, being born on the full moon, emotionally, he is contradicted constantly. Okay, so his fourth pinnacle, age 49 to the end of his life, is a 6. So it's a time to show love, duty, and responsibility to family, learn to think of the needs of others, and work with balancing his life. It could be a period of divorce if the relationship is no longer brings balance into his life. So, divorce is definitely looked at here. The fourth challenge was a 2, or is a 2, and he's struggling with duality of self-happiness and living in harmony with others. Okay, so the major cycles in his life, the first major cycle, which is the formative, which lasted until from 0 to 28, gain independence and build self-confidence. He may feel lonely or different because he was so involved in sports. He probably didn't get to interact that much with other people and stuff like that because sports takes up all your time. The second major cycle, which is the productive cycle, so it was age 28 to age 56, 57-ish, which is about where he is now, I think. He's in this second major cycle. And it's an 8, and money and recognition, hard work and ability to overcome obstacles, success in business, others might see him as powerful. The third major cycle, which is the harvest cycle, which begins at age 56 to 57 and forward to the end of the life, is a 5. And so it's, again, with the change and freeing of burdens of responsibility, learning about freedom and how to handle it wisely or poorly. His personal year of 2020, was an 8, which was respect, achievement, recognition, business finances must be administrated. Okay, and Suzanne was a 4, which was putting down roots and hard work, discipline, productive, and she had to show perseverance. Okay, now we're getting to the relationship. And They were married in 1994. So the first name, Barry's first name is an 11-2, needing to inspire others and can be intense, a team leader. And Suzanne's first name is a 1, meaning she needs to be an individual and can be willful. This is how they think. The difference between them is a 1, meaning they need to honor the need for independent thinking and individual ideas in the relationship. The middle or second name, this name this name represents the emotional aspect that each person brings to the relationship and what needs to happen emotionally for the relationship to work. Barry's emotional aspect is 4, meaning he is a hard worker and expects discipline. Suzanne's emotional aspect is 11-2, meaning she needs to inspire others and can be intense. The difference is a 2, meaning that the emotional part of the relationship needs to be sensitive to Suzanne and to minimize the conflict in the relationship. They need to work on honoring each other's sensitive points and work together as a team. Their last name, this name represents the spiritual consciousness or inherited traits that each person brings to the relationship. Both Barry and Suzanne bring the 8 to their marriage. Both placed priorities on success, competency, doing a good job, and appearances. They seek recognition in business and finances. So, ego-driven. Born on a full moon. Barry was born under a full moon. His sun and moon signs are always in conflict. Additionally, he was born under Libra sun and Aries moon, which are astrological opposites. The Libra sun is about balance, helping others, and love of beauty. The Aries moon is about love of self, high-strung and impulsive. This could lead to starting many projects but difficulty in completing them. Basically well-liked and optimistic, but must be in control in a relationship. So there's the dominance. Their life path, this shows the inherent talents and abilities and points to a possible career path. Barry's life path is a number 5, wanting change and a need to feel freedom, which as a landscaper, you get constant change because you're doing constantly different projects and you're constantly rearranging people's yards and all of that. So, that fulfilled that need. Suzanne's life path number was a 7, with her focus being on gaining wisdom. She could be detached, introspective, and silent, and the difference in this aspect is 2. They need to honor each other's sensitive points and work together as a team. Conflict needs to be minimized in this relationship. Destiny number reveals each person's purpose or what they must live up to, both personally and for the relationship. Barry's destiny number is 5, which is about change and freedom, and Suzanne's destiny number is 2, needing cooperation and peace. The stress number in this aspect is 3, which is open communication. Speaking their truth and not pushing down their emotions is key. There needs to be a feeling of safety to express their emotions without fear of attack. Their soul number, which is their life's passion, what the soul wants to express in this lifetime. Barry's soul number is a 3, which is about creative self-expression, a need to do his own thing to find himself and be happy. Suzanne's soul number is a 1, needing to be an individual. She can be willful, not caring what others think, not hiding her true feelings, outspoken and confident. The difference between them is 3, which is open communication. With Suzanne's need for individualism and Barry's need for self-expression and creativity, there is a potential for bluntness and open speaking being taken as criticism or making fun of by either party. Personality, this shows how others view them or the image they want to present to others. Barry's personality is an 11-2, with the master number of 11 being that of a visionary, possible genius and intelligence, an idealistic attitude, intense. Suzanne's personality is a 1, which is intelligent, well-dressed, and well-groomed, private, introverted, reserved, and dignified. The difference in this relationship is a 1 with a need to honor each person's need for individuality and independence. This relationship needs to show that there can be differences, but they can work together as a team to achieve their goals. The maturity number comes into play in the second half of life, usually begins around age 35 to 40. This shows the ultimate goal of your life, what you've been working towards achieving. And since there was a 4-year difference, then his maturity number came before hers, so there was a difference in maturity in the relationship of about 4 years. And his maturity number is a 1, which should culminate all of his freedom and creativity into his ability to be an individual, but it might make him more willful and domineering. Suzanne's maturity number is 9, which means she is more spiritual, working for the betterment of humanity. The difference in this number is an 8, which indicates power struggles. This couple needs to empower each other rather than struggle with who is going to be the boss. Pinnacles and challenges. Barry, born in 1967. Suzanne, born in 1971. These are periods of achievements and challenges as we progress through life. The first set lasts for approximately the first 28 years of life. The second and third set occur at 9-year cycles. Then the final set goes through to the end of life. With 4 years difference between Barry and Suzanne, he will hit his milestones earlier and could complete them earlier as well. The first pinnacle, Barry, 0 to 31, so 1967 to about 1998. And Suzanne, 0 to 29, so 1971 to about 2000. Barry's first pinnacle is 9, and his first challenge is 7. He is forced to grow up early, lots of pressure to succeed with the baseball, marriage, and his own business. Suzanne's first pinnacle is 7, and her first challenge is 1. She is introspective, introverted, but must learn to stand up for herself, be self-reliant, and overcome her fear of abandonment. She must learn not to lose herself in a relationship. The second pinnacle and challenge. Barry's second pinnacle begins at age 31 in 1998 and lasts until age 40, 2007. He is having to work hard building his business, working on his family, and doesn't have much time for himself. He might be feeling resentful during this time because there's not much room for the change and freedom he deserves. Suzanne's second pinnacle of 3 and challenges of 6 begins at age 29, year 2000, and ends at age 38, year 2009. She is learning to say what is truly in her heart. She's needing to learn discipline, as she has to share what was previously just for her with her husband, children, and career. She needs to learn to give with her heart and not base her happiness on the approval of those around her. The third pinnacle and challenge. Barry's third pinnacle of 4 and challenge of 1 begins at age 40 in 2007 and ends at age 49 in 2016. He's continued to work hard building his business and a solid foundation for his family. While it's not time for leisure, he is able to express himself and have the change and freedom he needs through his landscaping business. He is also engaging in other activities with his clients and friends. He is needing to stand up for himself and not lose himself to his family's needs. Suzanne's third pinnacle of 1 and challenge of 5 begins at age 38 in 2009 and ends at age 47 in 2018. With a pinnacle, she is striving With a 1 pentacle, she is striving to maintain her individuality as a teacher, mother, and wife. Moving away from her family and quitting her job certainly caused some concern and fear, possibly bringing back those old fears of abandonment from her earlier years. The 4th pinnacle and challenge lasts until the end of life. Barry's 4th pinnacle and 4th and final pinnacle of 6 and challenge of 2 begin at age 49 in 2016. This is a time when his hard work is paying off. He's focusing on his home, family, and community, also getting back to enjoying personal endeavors. The 2 challenge numbers demands balance and to not be so concerned with appearances, being affluent in a new community. Suzanne's 4th and final pinnacle of 4 and challenge of 5 begins at age 47 and lasts until her death in 2020. She is learning to find her new ways to build her foundations, engage with the community, and figure out what she wants to do in life. She's feeling stuck in a rut and needs change and freedom. There could be a love affair, but it may not last. Major cycles. We have 3 major cycles in our lives that last approximately 28 years each. The themes for each cycle are formative, productive, and harvest. The number for each cycle tells the conditions and lessons we need to meet to advance us down our life path and assist us in meeting our destiny. Barry's first major cycle of 1 lasts until age 28 or 29, so 1995 to 1996. This formative cycle will cause him to gain independence and build self-confidence. He's assertive and proud. He needs to maintain his independence, working on issues of integrity and self-discovery. Suzanne's formative first major cycle of 4 ends at age 32 to 33, which is 2003-2004. Learning how to set boundaries and to maintain good health, practical money matters, building a sound financial plan for life. The second major cycle, Barry's second major cycle of 8, begins at age 28 to 29, which is 1995 to 1996, and they were married in, 1994? So this is after they were married, and lasts until about age 58, 59, so 2025 to 2026. So he's getting ready to come out of this second major cycle. A time of business and career. He learns how to manage power, money, and success in the business world. Suzanne's second major cycle of 3 begins around age 33 to 34, which is in 2004-2005. They'd been married for about 10 years. And ends around age 54 to 55, 2025 to 2026. So she never made it through her second cycle. Encouraging the delight of living and warmth of many friends. There's considerable creative energy around her during this time as a teacher. And the third major cycle, if everything had continued on, would be the harvest cycle. And his third major cycle of 5 begins around age 58 to 59, which is 2025 to 2026. Freedom from the burdens of responsibility, seeking change, facing new adventures can bring a sense of satisfaction. Must avoid being reckless with his freedom. Suzanne's major third cycle of 9 would have begun around age 54 to 55, so 25 to 2026. Becoming a humanitarian, a spiritual cycle, growth towards her ideals of perfection, expanded view of love and selflessness. Working toward world improvement and healing the planet and others. The personal year of 2020, Barry's personal year of 4, was working on putting down roots in their community, hard work and discipline, putting into action the ideas of the previous year, possibly marriage counseling. I think I said before that Suzanne's personal year was a 4, but it's not, it's his. Suzanne's personal year was a 2, learning cooperation, listening, being sensitive, and harmony. The personal month of May for Barry was a 9, so it was a time of harvest, a month of endings, making room for the new energy coming in next month. And Suzanne's personal month was a 7, of May was a 7, and it was a time for resting and relaxing, reevaluating, seeking solitude in nature, paying attention to self, and time to think. So, that's what the numbers said. Again, if you need pictures of any of this, let me know and I'll be happy to send it to you. Otherwise, thank you for joining me. I know this video is a little bit long. Again, if this brings anything forward, or if you have any information at all that you think might be relative, please contact the FBI at 719-312-7530. And this is Spiritual Divine Guidance, and I appreciate you being here. And until next time, also, if you have any cases that you would like me to look at, please feel free to either email me or put them in the comments down below. I'll be happy to take a look at them. I haven't picked out my next case yet. It doesn't have to be a highly recognized case. It can be a case that isn't receiving any publicity, or it's dropped off, it's gotten cold. So just let me know if you have any suggestions for me. I'd be happy to take them. Otherwise, I'll be on the lookout for my next case. So until next time, thank you, and stay safe, be warm, and peace and love.